Sí, sí. ¿Que lo grabas tú?
Sí, ya está grabando.
A lo mejor maximiza la cámara para que se haga una presentación con él. Okay, so thank you very much for being with us, Adrián. Adrián is professor of the Universidad of Madrid on philosophy of technology. And well, I will leave you the opportunity to present yourself, introduce the work of your research group. You will be also with us during the week of the conference, presenting on the book co-authored with Luis González about degrowth in Spain, about concrete action to political action to drive and push degrowth in Spain. And I invited him because I would like to Adrián to introduce us to a special issue that has been recently published. And we have a lot of things in common, especially some of our ideas about ecology and what technology should be in a post-degrowth society. We also have some differences, maybe we can explore today. And yeah, he will be with us. You are leaving tomorrow. So after the seminar, feel free to get in touch and engage with Adrián. Okay. So the usual organization is that we have a presentation from visiting people, maybe that lasts between 30 and 40 minutes. If it is like 45 minutes, I will not interrupt, so no worries.
Okay.
And then we will have a debate or question time and follow up. Okay, so the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry in advance for my English that is a bit rusty also because I'm not using it a lot now that I have my lesson in Spanish and everything. I hope it will be understandable. If not, you can always ask to me. Yes, actually, I was really happy when I received this invitation because I was following some of the groups some of the works that the group was doing. No? And there's not a lot of people interested in general in the intersection between technology and degrowth. And especially, there's not a lot here, no, like in Spanish State. So to have the opportunity actually to meet, it was for me like really important, really interesting. I think exactly as Mario said that we have kind of a lot of things in common and maybe some differences that we can explore. No, so I'm taking this space as the opportunity just to present to you part of the work that I have been doing. And also the new space that we are starting, the new research group that we are actually putting together in the Universidad Carlos III Madrid, because it's just my second year as professor there. So we are actually really starting now. And we have decided to really stress these techniques that I mentioned in this new work. So just briefly, just for you to know a bit more about my trajectory, I am a physicist. I started to work as a physicist, but actually then back then I met with political ecology, most in general, no? Also in grassroots movements, especially in grassroots movement in the beginning. And in Universidad Autónoma de Madrid, where I studied, there is actually one person that is kind of important for all the ecological debate in philosophy, but not only in philosophy, that is Jorge Rietzmann. So we met there, we started to discuss and work a bit together, and he offered me the opportunity just to make my PhD there. That was not my initial plan. I was planning going to Mexico to study philosophy of science. Actually, it was my first plan. So we started then theoretical, but also an institutional work that now has been accomplished. There is a research group established in Autónoma de Madrid in ecological humanities, no? And we have been developing kind of different aspects of this research strategy. So we have this research group there that I'm still a member. No, we have also a master in the ecological humanities that has been now 3 years working. And we have also reached the possibility of having two projects from the Spanish states, no, and a network of ecological humanities. So this was like actually the environment where I studied a bit. Also, I was a postdoc, but because it wasn't able to continue there, actually I moved to a Basque country, no, and there I continued to specialize in this dimension of politics and philosophy of technology, no, ethics of technology also a bit. And now that I have arrived, no, in this position that could be permanent, My idea were to put together like the two ambits in which I have been working on, ecological humanities and philosophy of technology. So this is actually what I am doing now in the theoretical level, and I will discuss with you some of these things, no? But especially also in this new research group, no? I am really happy there because actually in this university, there were already people working in appropriate technologies, no, in cooperation with this way also of looking from the south to this problem, with a network already on place. Actually, I have enriched this network with other partners from Latin America, no, France, also in Finland. So we are now starting a new project. We have asked for a project to the ministry. I don't know if we are going to obtain it or not, no, with the name Humble Techniques, but I will discuss a bit what do I mean with that. So probably we'll be starting now with this new project, and we are already working in a staff exchange project from the European Commission on ecological justice. No, so another group of people there were working in this kind of ecological issues from the right perspective, no, law and right perspective. So it's been really interesting now because we have another network we are working with focused on nature rights, ecological justice, no, in Europe and above Europe. And now that I'm a principal investigator for this project, is actually a lot of work going on, no, on defining new concepts or actually consolidating our concepts of nature, value of nature, no, inherent or non-inherent value of nature. You are invited to follow the work we are doing. The project is named Speak for Nature. And actually in April, we're going to have our network school in Brazil, and it will be actually for that I don't remember. Broadcasted or streamed. So you can follow the moment, not the actual moment of all the debates. I will be doing a monographic in ecological ethics, for example, but it was some things that I was doing before. So in this idea of putting together the work that actually I was making, no, in philosophy of technology and political ecology, that I devoted my PhD to that. No, it was called Technology and Autonomy. No, I was actually working a lot with a philosopher, Greek-French philosopher, is called Cornelius Castoriadis. No, the idea was actually to approach the problem of technology in face of Capitalocene, no, redefining actually what should we understand in social terms when we talk about technology, framing this crisis, trying to put a perspective to this crisis, historical perspective to this crisis, and start to reflecting a bit about alternatives, even though I didn't do a lot at that moment about that. And we decided with a friend that we made in an environmental humanities conference, Iñaki Pradanos, he's doing a lot in like cultural studies, environmental cultural studies, to put together a special issue. This is a special issue that I can share with you. You want to take a look at it, the political ecology of technology and non-neutrality approach, in which actually we were both really worried, I guess, like everyone here, about techno-optimism, no? Techno-optimism in the political arena, techno-optimism also in philosophical terms, and the roots of these techno-optimisms that we think that they are really, really deep, no? That is not something superficial, no, or something just connected to communication or to cultural products, but it has like really, really deep cultural roots. So there are different contributions here. Maybe the most relevant researcher that accepted to participate with us here was Alf Hornborg. No, that was a big influence for us. I don't know if you know Alf Hornborg, but probably you know Andreas Malm. No, Andreas Malm was studying with him. It's actually kind of the continuous. I don't know how to say that, but yeah, he was kind of the master of Andreas Malm, even though they are not completely agree. They don't completely agree in everything. No, but there are also contributions for Stephens, Paulson. No? Some people actually in our research group, Antonio Alonso is been participating also, and myself, I wrote kind of a piece here that it's a condensation of much of the research that actually has been developed in the last year. So for me, it was kind of the opportunity of having a synthesis. So it's been a paper I worked a lot, like 3 years process for doing this special issue. It was really like enriching and everything, no? So the idea of this paper that I'm going to briefly present to you is this idea of building a socio-historical ontology of techniques, no, and is based also in the distinction between techniques and technology. That for me is kind of important because it's both analytical, no, but also prescriptive, if you want, no. That's why also I have been starting to work in this area of humble techniques, no. So because I did my studies initially in this like huge space that is philosophy of technology, I was aware of a kind of an ambiguity when we discuss about technology, no? Because not everybody when discussing about technology are only thinking about technical objects, no? But you can use technology to discuss about institution, to strategies, no, organization, as you do in the group I have seen, no. Even you can just talk about self technologies, no, or tecnologías del yo in Spanish, no. So the first thing to do for me was actually trying to focus, no, in the technical objects, kind of actually put all my effort on that, no, and trying to frame how our relationships as human societies with these technical objects has been framed before, no, and this is what actually I call, no, the inherited consumption of techniques. And how should we transform actually our conceptualization of these techniques and eventually not the materialization of these techniques in order to contribute to this kind of degrowth projects, no? So as a synthesis of this idea of an inherited conception of techniques, I was presented here that there's two main features to this conception. No, this is the neutrality and autonomy. No? A particular way of understanding autonomy and a particular way of understanding neutrality. Neutrality first in social and moral terms. No, so historically techniques has been considered neutral in the sense that compatible with any kind of moral or political purpose. No, it's this idea of their simple mean. So you can couple this mean with a lot of different ends. No, and there is not a proper end that it's inscribed, no, in this mean that you want to use, no. It's kind of an equivalent of free use of techniques, no, flexibility of techniques in order to use for different social and political projects, no. I was also presenting that this is connected to an ontological neutrality, an ontological concept of that, no, because there is kind of an inversion of the Greek notion of techne, no, this idea, no, from the Greeks that there is no logos of techne, and now how technex is only logos, no, it's kind of a procedure, a neutral procedure that you can use, no, you can apply to any end, no, you can apply to any context. So this is a dimension of this inherited conception, but then there is also a particular interpretation of autonomy connected to what is called the technological determinism. Autonomous technology will be autonomous in this sense, because it will not be limited or connected, no, to any social reality or social dynamic, no, but it would be impressing the dynamic to society, no. In that sense, it would be like the motor, no, of all these different changes. So an autonomous reality in the sense of independent of historical processes. So this inherited consumption, I think this is still very important. It's still very present in like really popular debates, but also in kind of different ways of approaching even the political ecology debate today, no? Accelerationism, for example, the commonism, you can find this kind of conception. And I synthesize these ideas in 4 elements, no? Techniques can be freely used, as the first point. Techniques is politically and ethically neutral in terms of usage. No? The third point, users are the key element to study techniques from a social perspective. No? This is derived from the neutrality. If it just mean to the different end, you cannot think morally or politically about the mean. No? You can only make an analysis, a political and moral analysis of the user, no? The one who is going to decide the end. So actually puts users in the center of the analysis. And finally, the fourth, there is a positive bias towards technical change that make it very difficult to perform critical analysis around it. No? So this is actually in the counter between technological determinism and progress, the idea of progress, the imaginary of progress. So I think that this is flawed. No? This kind of conception of technology is flawed. No? It's actually not very useful if we want to really develop a political reflection, a political action around technology, that it's actually the objective. No? And this idea of having this limitation of this conception is not original. No, actually, we have philosophy of technology because there is a perception that this kind of yes, these kind of ideas are a bit flawed. No? So there is a lot of different branches that we could discuss here. In my understanding, the readings that I have done of your group, I mean that I assume that social construction of technology you are fond of. No, but I'm not exploring specifically social construction of technology. No, but actually making my own synthesis. No, taking some elements from different spaces. No, but really connected to this perspective of social metabolism as a really important element. No, and like really also connecting with the technology criticism of the 60s, 70s. No, Illich and others. No, so. It's kind of putting together all that. You will see how, no, with also this kind of a big influence of Castoriadis. That's why I presume that we need an ontology in the sense that we should understand also techniques in connection with social fabric, no, with the dynamics of social construction. That is not really far from social construction of technology. So in this paper, I present kind of this ontology, no, with the core element being techniques, no, also techniques in plural, but techniques understood as something that is present in human societies at all times or places, and not only specifically in human animals, but also in other animals. No? Now, for example, I am working with a student in a final thesis around this, no, animal techniques. I'm interested in that branch also. So I focus in technical objects, as I said, no? For example, taking as a departure point the definition of Mumford, no? A whole range of elements and devices manufactured for a specific use, that maybe you can also make a complement with Ingold, no? And talking about techniques, no? As instrument harnesses for the intentional project of an agent, no? And this agent is an animal, it could be human or not, so this amplifies a bit. No, but it's kind of obvious from the first moment that you cannot actually limit yourself to discuss the techniques and just discuss about if you want, the materiality in the sense of, I don't know, an anatomic, no, description of the object. No? So for the first moment, one thing that you have to take into account, no, discussing about singular technologies, techniques, no, is that it's very difficult to decouple the object, no, to the handling. So there is actually kind of I don't know, no, the two sides of the same coin, no, in which actually to have an object that you can perceive as a techniques, what you need is actually a specific way of handling, no, which maybe the kind of the barrier that can make a difference between a general object and an object that you identify as techniques, no, and that is something really present in a lot of works, like Gurhan, Simondon, no, Maus, no. There is a lot of people who has stressed actually this idea that technical objects cannot be detached from the handling, no, the procedures and practices related to the use thereof. So the idea is actually to have a core definition, no, in which these two things come together, and with these two things together, actually you can build different analysis scales. I was interested in actually trying to draw different scales that could be used in techniques analysis, no, from different perspectives. For example, one perspective that I try to develop here, no, it's how can we organize or differentiate different techniques regarding, no, the form of the immediate source of guidance, no, the role of the user, if you want, no, animal, human or non-human, no. And then you can draw a whole, if you want, space between the hand tools, no, and the cybernetic devices, no, in which there are different graduation of presence, no, of the human beings. Mitcham was working also on that, no, and well, there is kind of interesting categorization there. We can also recover if you want, but actually there is in this scale, no, and if you want graduation between the complete control of the human, no, the human-centered techniques, no, and the disappearance of the human, no, in the using, no, there would be the cybernetic devices, no, in which there is a presence actually designing maybe, but not in the using, no. So you can define a scale in that sense. And a coupled scale that I think that for thinking now in this moment of ecological, socio-ecological crisis is really relevant is the scale of energy using, no? of energy necessity, if you want. Because in the moment in which you have actually an absolute center techniques, it's the body, the human, who acts as the main source of energy. But if you want actually to start the process of capture of the handling in a mechanism, and this is actually how I think we should understand this ongoing process of mechanization, you need energy. So all the possibility of capture, even also enlarging, and make a potentiation of the different human acts, that are captured in this kind of new machines, it's in need of a source of energy. So this is interesting because it gives you a perspective of understanding why historically in all the expansion of industrial capitalism, there has been a coupling between mechanization, and increasing use of energy. Because this human work substitution, it's been a reality, expansion, even a transformation, is being based on this new adding of energy. And this is really, really important also because there's a concept, the concept of metabolic breaks or break or metabolic bridge. It's actually what happened when we went from circular metabolism to linear metabolism, massive introduction of fossil fuels. And we can see that actually this massive introduction of fossil fuels, this need of having more and more energy, it's coupled to economic growth. It's obvious, and we know it really well, but it's also coupled to mechanization, to have more present of this kind of when new machines, it was connected to the need of having this access to more energy and of course new materials. Georges Courregan always said that the matters also matter, and to have more energy normally is also to have more material use. So techniques have this core, the core of the object and the handlings, and in this perspective you can already actually meet this kind of analysis, but actually also fully understand the technical objects in a social context needs a bit more than the device itself, the animal user, and the material practices related to those objects. I try to do it simple. I wrote a book that is called Techniques and Technology, and I was trying just to make my mother to understand it. So I was all the time like looking for examples, and things that could be understandable. So I found in the book like a really good example, like a mental example for all this, an example of something that you can analyze the materiality, the importance of the use is also really well reflected in the bow, because there is a bow if you use it to throw in arrows, but if not, you can use it to make it music, and the object needs not to change to become a new techniques, just the handling needs to change. But if you think about what does it mean to have a bow in a certain community or in a certain social sphere, you will see that there are more in having a bow than just the bow or the way of using it, because maybe it can be a symbol of authority, it can be a ritualistic, also personification, etc., etc. So actually, what we see is fully understanding the techniques means also introducing new elements, that are connected beyond the device and the material practices, and this is what is called the technical sphere. I'm taking this idea of Simondon, but actually giving it a complete new definition. I'm not using it as Simondon will use it. It's actually a really Castoriadian technical sphere. But in this technical sphere, what we will be including there is economic, political, symbolic, and imaginary relationships within society, along with other techniques tied to the relevant objects handling and manufacturing processes. So actually, if you include this idea of technical sphere, it's actually a way of going beyond the philosophy of technology analysis focused only in one object. It's kind of similar to the effort that you have been making talking about infrastructure. So it will be a way of getting closer to this idea of infrastructure, because at the end, I use in this paper the example of the smartphone, and you were using the example of the internet. Talking about a smartphone, is actually not just talking about a smartphone, no? But you need to talk about the whole metabolic, implications, work relationships, I don't know, worldwide economy organization, subjective impacts, et cetera, et cetera. So this is kind of actually another alternative way of approaching this idea of infrastructures, or actually to enrich the analysis of the individual object with this kind of relationship that it has with other objects, and with other societal requirements. It's also easy to see, for example, with the car. You cannot really decouple the car with the urbanism, with other infrastructure, etc., etc. So at the end, I end up with a kind of a definition, if you want, a synthesis of how could we actually understand techniques. And I said something like pieces of matter comprising moves, action, and practices, but also wishes, beliefs, assessments, institutions, power relationship, and struggles, as well as individual or social constructs and imaginaries. So these pieces of matter are tied to other pieces and fragments, including animal bodies within the broad network provided by their respective technical spheres. So that's why we're talking about, if you want, an ontology that is a socio-ontology, or is based actually a socio-historical ontology, because for fully understanding the techniques, you really, to fully understand the society in which these techniques appears, and is developed. So this is actually really something really different, to the, if you want, this naive idea of the neutrality approach, of the inherited, a conception of techniques, So I make here kind of a discussion of how this actually makes impossible to guard, or to keep these elements, these 4 elements of the inherited conception. You cannot say that there is a free use, because there is a really fundamental link between society and techniques. So actually, you can take a technique and put it in another societal milieu. That's possible, because there is a base dimension of that it's actually understandable, but you will transform this new society. And in the same way, it's not possible to say, I'm going to take these techniques and I'm going to just apply to a completely different project, because there is kind of an heritage that you obtain with these techniques, that it's the necessity of having a technical sphere, that is actually one compatible with the necessities of the techniques. I guess that this is going to be a point maybe of friction of the discussion between us. What is the level of flexibility of the technique, or even of our infrastructure? I guess that I'm more pessimistic than you, when thinking about this kind of flexibility in cases, for example, as the internet or others, but then we can maybe discuss. So for me, there is a kind of an inseparability of techniques and their associated sphere that is dynamic. It's not that all the techniques are completely inseparable and there is no level of flexibility. You have to do it in a piecemeal fashion. But if you go to bigger and bigger technical spheres, this kind of possibility of separability goes smaller and smaller. If you go to technical spheres that are more moderate, this possibility is more feasible. Okay. So also, it's impossible to consider any technique politically and ethically neutral in this point of view. And the user, it doesn't disappear, but it becomes a bit secondary. Actually, techniques is one of the means to which society is being reproduced. One of the means in which actually, as sociology talks about habitus, Bourdieu, for example, you can understand techniques in that sense. The creator always impress a bit more than he thinks or he knows in his techniques, and also techniques, it becomes if you want a way of building his institutionality, but also his subjectivity. So it's society, which is in the center, and not only the individual. From this perspective, as you see, actually, you can discuss techniques in a way really, really, really detached to any linear history or any progressive relay, in which actually you should approach the techniques process, in a plurality, in a plurality mood, if you want, discussing maybe in a way more similar as the way that you discuss, different languages. no, in which you will never say English is no more advanced than Chinese, no, or you will actually understood that there are like profound links between this language and the societal milieu, no. So, for example, the idea of technodiversity or Yukui, no, it could be like really compatible with this approach. And having this kind of ontology that could be applied, no, to different perspectives and places, I try to build on what does it mean to think about the particularities of capitalocene techniques, no? The understanding that there are particular techniques, that they are not inevitable, they are not eternal, no, and they could have not been, no, but we have it now. No? So that's why I propose to call technology. No, I propose to save the word technology for these kind of techniques. No, and in that sense, it also breaks this idea that you cannot go beyond technology or you cannot transform technology because you put it in a historical perspective. No, and I agree with Alf Homburg, no, that one of the most characteristic element of these technologies are the relationship with the kind of economic, no, and territorial organization that capitalism has made in the last 5 centuries, no. And I can read directly to say, no, that technology itself already implies an unequal exchange of resources between different segments of the global society. No, it assumes, in fact, an asymmetric flow of embedded human labor and natural space that is established between sectors for which these goods have different prices. No, so this is actually something hard not to sustain from a progress perspective, no, or a linear advancement of technology perspective, because the idea is to say that you will never have the possibility of our mode of living for everyone, no. So if the people have been talking that our mode of living is an imperial mode of living, we could also talk about imperial technologies, no? Because to have these kind of technologies implies actually to have cheap nature, to have cheap work, no? To have ecological destruction, to have, if you want, this kind of networks, no, socially connected today in the way actually in which we are in a really really difficult predicament now, because our necessities, no, in a deep way, material but also non-material, are entangled with this kind of imperial technologies. So actually, in order to rethink or reshape our necessities, no, in order to change our way of living, we are forced to rethink in depth technologies. But because there is this kind of strong progressist perspective, and we are actually really attached to our technologies, rethink, no, even the growth perspective with a radical change in the technologies that we use is really hard. It's really, really hard. So, for example, I was reading Becky Chambers, no, that she's trying to make new utopias, new ecotopias. No, she can become really, really like radical in gender relationships, no, free love, no, municipal liberty. They are like anarchists in the way of understanding how the territory should be organized, no, really deep socialist, etc. But people have smartphones in her utopias, no. So in her utopia, so it's something that I found like really normally, no, that we can change everything, no, but never technology, no, because it will be a step forward to rethink technology. And I think that that's a problem. No? That's a problem because for sure it is necessary to have in-depth analysis, no, to see how are the links, what can be transformed and what not, no, but an infrastructure that, for example, the one that is coupled to internet, no, and this kind of new technologies, to decouple it from this kind of capitalistic relation of production, distribution, extractivism, it's nothing easy. No? It would suppose a transformation so deep that probably we will have something that maybe will become not easy to recognize for us. No, it will not be actually a new society with the same technologies. No, but the new society it should be a couple to also new technologies. No, and this is also a matter of justice. No, it's an ecological matter, but it's also a matter of justice in that sense of, I repeat, no, this technology comprises an equal exchange of material and work. No, so it's actually in the same way that mercancy, no, we understand that we have a fetishist relationship with mercancy, no, we have also a fetishist relation with technology in which we see the object but not the social relationships that are there, no. So for me, in a way, thinking about deep growth means thinking beyond technology in that sense, rethinking a new type of techniques that actually will be the couple to this kind of a intimate relationship between modern capitalism and nowadays technologies. So I am now working on this kind of idea. I'm calling them humble techniques, and the project that I have asked for with a group of people is actually trying to recover all the reflection and criticism of 60s, 70s until nowadays, the alternative technology movements, and all these discussions, and also building on, for example, something that I know that you know very well, the matrix conviviality tool, and all these kind of prior elements, trying to find a way of analyzing and actually reframing this kind of technologies, coming with a perspective alternative. Just three elements, and I will finish with this. That is actually guiding our reflection in these humble techniques. Is the idea of drastically reduce the huge amount of energy that technologies consume today and completely eliminate fossil fuels. So the idea would be prioritize the direct use of sun's energy in all its forms. And in direct use of sun's energy, it doesn't include photovoltaics. So I'm really talking of direct use of sun's energy. So it's really a gap between what we are doing now and what we should be doing. A second point will be reduce the number of technologies in our daily lives, and stop the erosion of social and personal autonomy. That we are making a link between social and personal autonomy, and this kind of, if you want, substitution of the human-centered techniques to the new technologies up to the cybernetic control technology. So the idea is to promote. We are aligned with this idea of small-scale techniques. Even though I think really interesting your reflection about the scale, I'm hoping that we can discuss about that. How can we actually think about scales that are not small, which are the limits of that, the idea of replication and everything. I'm interested in discussing on that. Anyway, we can discuss afterward, but I still assume that maybe in modularity or replication, the small scale will be the most important. And also this coupled with the idea of engineers losing their centrality in favor of like general regular human beings. Another, if you want, thing that have been coupled to the expansion of machines in general, automated machines, is the impossibility of having a direct knowledge, a democratic also using and if you want, reflection of most of the machines that we don't really understand, how that they work. So I think that it will be something to think in order to think democratically in depth. And finally, overcoming the current dominance of experts and the centrality of technological solutions, in order to set in motion broad and democratic transformation processes which could change society in all its spheres. So this is part of what is developed afterwards in the special issue about techno-optimism, what is the political role of techno-optimism nowadays, and how even in the growth, we are still lacking some like really developed work in order to rethink what does it mean to democratize technology, or what does it mean to have techniques for the growth. So, okay, this is just some little part of the things that we could have been discussing here, but I'm assuming that it will be more fruitful to really go to specific things now. And I invite you, if you want to read the special issue, is already available. I think it's kind of interesting. I will share it with you if you want to just take a look. I'll finish here. I hope it was understandable because.
Thanks a lot. I sent to everybody the paper, maybe last month.
It's on the website. Anyway, no,
It's on our website. Okay, so thank you very much for your dense conversation. We open up the discussion now. The questions?
Yeah. Probably I will do this.
Yes.
I don't give my back to anyone.
So thank you very much for your presentation. You have many things to really interesting. And I'd like to ask you specifically about the idea of immersible brief and also immersible lesson. Maybe it's coming more from point to point. I'd like to know, how do you think about this brief in terms of like need exchanges of labor and matter how it gets
Thank you very much for the question. Yeah, actually, this idea is really old. No, in the beginning of ecological economics, it was this idea actually of kind of a particularity of industrial capitalist societies, and is the changing actually of the shape of its metabolism. No, Joaquin Sempere, for example, he synthesized this and he said that it's been three major metabolic rifts. No. The first one is related to the massive use of fossil fuels, no, in which actually you were changing, no, from the sun's energy to this kind of reservoir of all sun's energy, but now actually working as a finite, no, dimension, this linear dimension. No? So actually, this is a metabolic rift in the sense that you make actually a huge change in the energetic basis of your society. No? The second metabolic rift he's talking about is the industrialization of agriculture, because again, no, you have there an example of economic milieu that historically is being productive, no, in the sense of actually being able to produce richness, no, not out of nothing, but out of the dynamics of the living. And in the moment in which you actually introduce massively, no, machines, introduce massively these new fossil fuels, but also introduce massively, no, the necessity of phosphates, no, of synthesis in general, etc. You are making this space not productive, but actually an energetic and material sink, no, apart from all the dynamics of deflation and everything. So there's also a rift there. And the third is related to materials, no, and extractivism, no, how actually in this new metabolism you are in need of all the materials, no, in the earth, no, because actually we are giving an industrial use to all the materials existing. So having this, no, I think Georgescu Reagan initially, I have written some piece about technology and Georgescu Reagan in a book that we made. No, we're actually posing the question of how are we gonna reorganize our metabolism in order to, he will not say this, but in order to close this, no, this kind of metabolic rates. No, how can we really live from the sun? No, how can we really actually get not dependent of these scarce and destructive, no, new ways of doing things? And rethinking things in this way gives you actually the necessity of rethinking technology, no, and seeing technology kind of vehicles of strong dependence of this kind of metabolistic arrangement. No? A way, how you say, no, to concentrate unequal impacts in the planet, no, in which you can find cheap natures, if you want, no, cheap nature in the words of Jason Moore, no, and also cheap labor. And this is the unequal exchange theory of economists in Latin America, no, but we are building on that, no. So now, from this perspective, no, if you want to face to the real technology that we have, you will find that it's not easy normally to decouple it from this structure. It's not also easy to decouple to other structure. For example, you have been analyzing if growth is, no, written in the technology or not, no? But it's also very difficult to see how could we decouple it, no, from this metabolism. In some cases, no, in hand tools is relatively easy, no? Because even now they are subjected to industrial production. It's really easy or kind of easy to rethink how could it be, no, reframed, no, in another metabolic arrangement. No? But when we are facing to this kind of technologies, ultra specialized, no, ultra dependent of a lot of materials, of a kind of an special arrangement of production, this thinking is not that evident. It's not impossible, no. We should be maybe thinking about that, but it's not that evident. No? So the paper, the Hornborg's paper in the special issue, I think it will be really clarifying for you because he's focusing especially on breaking this idea of technology fetishism and showing how technology is also a conglomerate, you know, of social and economic relations. Just to give you
Once. You are
I'm
nice.
still
You're still thinking.
trying to review my notes.
Clarification.
clarifications are welcome also because
I was thinking, talk about you're trying to demystify technology or you talk about the fetish. But I somehow feel like there is still like a big fetish there, which is to talk about technology in general. So is it possible that maybe like by talking about technology as a sort of like uniform kind of thing, we might be foreclosing opportunities to think about technology in different ways? I'm thinking about, for example, you're talking about like the need to sort of like decomplexify technology. Could it be possible that in a degrowth society, we can decide whether like some technologies, like, you know, we want to spend, like, we have these complex technologies that are energy intensive and energy demanding, and maybe like simplify others? Or should we talk about technology in general as a sort of like a kind of universal category?
Technology as I'm using it is all the contrary of a universal category, because actually what I'm building is techniques, not framework. So first point is that technology is kind of a contingent reality, no? As I'm using it. No? That is actually recent in historical terms, if you want. So there is a whole diversity of techniques, arrangement of techniques, strategies that have exist already, no? But they are actually in an equal actually fight with technologies. And about your question, that I understand, no? There is a possibility of two strategies there, no? Focus on what is shared in that what I say, no, what I call as technology, or trying to focus on what is actually the difference, or what are the different possibilities of these different technologies. No? So actually, in this paper, I was actually interested on trying to look if there is kind of a coherence between these technologies. No? If there is a coherence in the particular arrangement of techniques that modern capitalist societies have made. No? And I think there is a possibility to find some coherence, no? No? In the way of how they are, for example, looking for human substitution, no? In the way in which they are actually, you know, related to some kind of a specific metabolism, in the way they are connected to some conception of the human being, no? And this project of control in nature, no? How they are coupled with modern science that I have developed more in other places. So I was trying to focus on these elements, no? That they are in common. Can you derive a politic of technology from this analysis directly? I don't think so. No? So actually there are 2 points in the politic of technology that I'm actually trying to build. The first is the necessity of open up democratic spaces, no, of discussion and knowing of technology. In that we are together, I think. I think we will share a project, no, or we could actually be at the same point. No? Is the first point, no? To break the black boxes, to understand how does it go, no? What is going on there, being able to have more agency. I would agree with that. But a second point in which I don't know if we completely agree or not, I don't know, is actually to go in depth with that. No? Because if you want to really decouple the technologies in the sense that I'm using technology, and not techniques in general, but it's technologies. You want to decouple them to the elements that we identify as problematic in those societies. No? I prefer to talk about industrial capitalist society, but growth societies. There is a lot of things to do to change. No, there is not just a change in your user relationship. For example, I'm a user of Linux. And I think it's good. It's better than doing another thing. But does it change, no, what the computer is to be a user of Linux? I don't think so. No, it would be something much more difficult. So maybe the point is, no, how in depth do we want to go, and how important or how valuable we think that some technologies are. Because I was reading, you were not participating in it, but I was reading Mario's paper about in the internet, no? And there was a point of departure is that internet is valuable, no? And we should keep it. I wasn't sure. I read your paper. I was preparing for this meeting, so I was just doing what we were doing and everything, no? So I found that the point of departure is internet is so valuable that we have to keep it in the legal society, no? In a way. So how are we going to do it, no? And this is not a necessary point of departure, no? Why? No? Why it would be so valuable just to keep it? No?
Well, it's debatable in the sense that it was not exactly the starting point.
No,
The starting point was that internet is there, and it will be there probably for the next few decades. Like infrastructure, like I start using the picture of the Colosseum in it was in my grandmother dining room to say, look, that's internet is like this, still there. It's a picture of the Colosseum in the Renaissance, in the 15th century, so 16th century, where people like were having vegetable gardens in the Colosseum. So you see the picture, like it's a print, actually. But the starting point is that whatever you want to call this large technological system, they will be there for decades. So this was the starting point. And I agree with you that if you want to go in depth into the how society will look like in a post-war society, you need to also like question the necessity of internet or not. At least to open up the possibility that some society can live without internet, and at the same time coexisting with other society that use at least a less extent or smaller internet. So on that ground, I think that's we agree. What we try to do in this paper is really to think about what it means to live with the ruins of capitalism, the technological ruins, the infrastructural, the material ruins of capitalism for a diverse society. Because if for one end, yeah, I totally understand and totally agree with you that there is like a number of reflection that we make about the necessity of many things like this, right? And that now is a radical monopoly, no? I think that not even Ivan Illich knew what it means to live in a society without a radical monopoly, no? On the other hand, I think that there are a lot of things that will remain there, whatever we like or not. And so if we want to plan a post-war society, we need to deal with that, like nuclear plant, nuclear power, and nuclear waste. That will be there, right? Even though if we totally reject them in a future society, we see that. So how do we deal in a democratic way with things that by definition are very difficult to deal with, which is like how we deal with nuclear waste, for example, in a democratic way. So I think this maybe was not clear in the paper, the starting point, but
I was seeing that implicit, not explicit.
okay. Yeah,
But it's the sensation that I received.
yeah. Maybe because I like internet.
I think there is a bit of that.
There is a bit of that in the sense that,
Yeah.
I mean, internet gives me the possibility to talk to my mom almost every morning or every day because she calls me. So I don't know if maybe this is not good. Maybe this would improve my life. But yeah, I don't know. No, but you understand my point. I mean, there are two things there. First, that my concern about the fact that we are in some super high complex technological society, and even though if we decide, I don't know how, democratically to stop using this technology, the infrastructure will be there, right? So we need to deal with these ruins. On the other hand, there are many things that's maybe it's fetishism, but there are many things that we use that's even the most anti-technology among us like and find useful, no?
It's not a matter of like.
I don't know.
Dislike.
Huh?
It's not a matter of like or dislike. I don't think the point is if you like some technology or you don't like, or you enjoy this or you.
Well, I
Like a
like playing
subjective point
Minecraft
of view,
with my
like, I like
kids, for
it.
example. I like playing Minecraft with my
Great, but
kids.
that doesn't
This
matter
means
of
that
what you like.
Huh?
It's not a matter of what you like
Thank you.
or what people like. No, I think it's not so much about, oh, I like doing this or that. It's about what are the political implications of doing this.
No, this is clear. Yeah, but what?
For example, just one point, no? Your paper is a paper. I assume that there's a lot of others which is present, no? But for example, there is no discussion, and there are discussion of this in other things that you have done about the colonial dimension of new technologies. How can you go without, for example, the destruction of all the natural spaces of the lithium triangle?
Yeah, no, we talk about a little bit of geopolitics of China, but
in the paper, I mean, no? So
Yeah.
this is absent, no? So at the end, how
It's,
can
was not possible to cover all the aspects,
I
but
know, but
we actually, well, we mentioned the fact that the internet submarine cables are at the center of a geopolitical strategic battles. China, for example, is being completely excluded. Now, of course, there are elements of neo-colonialism. We are in a special issue on innovation and colonialism.
yeah, no, I know you have worked on that. So, but I think there is a dimension of fetishism because, for example, heavy machinery, like actually heavy machinery, which I don't like, in the sense that is really beautiful and I'm fond of. It could be much more important, I think, than new technologies. No? Even
Did you like big machinery?
no, I don't like that. But actually, I would rather like to make the work that these machines make. ¿No? O sea, que no me gustan, pero me gustaría menos tener que hacer el trabajo que hace la computadora.
Okay.
In that sense, I think that they are much more important than the computer, for example. No, but there is kind of we agree that okay, this can disappear. No?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, sorry, Alex. You want to?
No, keep going because
No, I was trying to find the words in what I sort of the sense I get from your message, which is like it's a very negative reading of technology, of techniques. I don't know, like I get confused because I don't come from a more like an STS tradition. We don't use these nomenclatures. I think in many other ways, like we might talk about assemblages, we might talk about like social practices, whatever. Like for me, like I get like a very negative reading of it without considering like what will be the trade-offs of coming back to this sort of only solar power kind of like what you want to live in. That will be the first thing. And the second thing is where are the political openings for this kind of vision? Like, where do we start? Like who is going to buy into this? Because we are saying like, it's not about liking or not. I'm not so sure about that. I think, desire like has a role to play into this. Like technology is not driven just by like a sort of like a cost energy calculation about like, how much energy we're using into this, whatever desire is there. And you mentioned like that with the sort of like social kind of aspects of technology. I think, okay, liking something sounds a bit trivial, but I don't think it's as trivial as it is. Like, and we have attachments that are not exclusively like need-based. In many ways, like, we have we sort of, I agree, like, at some point, a technology achieves this radical monopoly status, then living without it means that you're marginalizing.
I think the point is to first, you need to, the analytical point is to understand what are the political implications of different technologies and techniques.
Yeah.
And then what you like and what you dislike, and what we want, what we don't want, we can make that assumption, that decision based on the political implications of a certain technology. I don't know if I'm making myself. Like once the kind of the academic work is to understand the political implications on different technologies or techniques. That's the analytical part. And then the part of the desire, what you like, what we want, that's the subjective part.
You think desire is not an analytical concept? That's what I was trying to
make a decision based on your preferences.
No, not my preferences.
Whatever preference.
I think you understood what I was trying to do in that sense, because it's not that desire is not an analytical issue here, but I'm not also making a negative decision. No, in the sense negative that I'm trying to attack, which I have done in other places, but it's not the point here. No, in this paper, I'm not doing that. No, I'm trying just to show what's the define. No? So at the end, what you really should take into consideration, no, in order to rethink, no, what kind of techniques do you want to have, no, technologies. And the problem is that it's really entangled.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, really entangled with the problems of our society. And another point that I think that is problematic is this idea of good things and bad things. No, there are good things and bad things. This is something that I think it's actually building on neutrality approach. No, like there is the good things and the bad things. We're going to keep the good things and we're going to take red or take all the negative things out. This is not that easy. No, normally, but you can take some negative aspects maybe out, no? But it's not that easy like, okay, because I like all the good things, I will keep all the good things and I will just redo all the bad things. I think that's And then about the political context, and this is another point. Actually, we are going against the current in everything we are proposing. No, ecologically, institutionally, and also in the desire realm. No, and the problem is the fight is how do we actually politically reshape the desire. No, think about agroecology. Agroecology, actually, I don't know if it's really connected to our kind of desire about work, for example. No, the kind of work that we actually do. No, but it's really positively perceived. No, in the growth movement. No, agroecology is the answer. No, and we should not have machines in the production and localize. But actually, how many people in the growth community works in the garden? No. So it's been a political victory, of reframing or reshaping desire. And with technology, we are not even doing it. No, we are not even contesting this kind of desire. I think. No, we assume that this is cool, and we have to continue with it in general. Like, I'm not saying you, but in general, no.
And there is a work by Lauren Clerks who talks about mechanizing agroecology in a theoretical way. He seriously thinks about that, I think, and it's an interesting work because he theoretically decouples machines, like perhaps he's missing that analysis, that in-depth analysis, but he thinks about, like, for example, he asked, could we do an automated machine that is sustainable, that like an imaginary machine, like he has these mental exercises of prefigurating things in technology. I don't know technology because I also got lost on which what is what. But for me, it was a little difficult to follow on because the example of the ball, nice, I understood that as your mom. But then I got lost on the we jump to other technology to a place of what technology, like what are we speaking about? Are we speaking about planes? Are we speaking about everything? Or are we just speaking about a common framework of social ontology of technology? Was it?
Socio-historical ontology of techniques.
Yeah, socio-historical technology of ontology of techniques. Are we just? Is it just like a project of a common ground for all like for talking about planes, for talking about GADIs, for talking about
GADIs will not be a technology in the sense that I'm proposing.
Okay.
Because it's focused, as I said in the beginning, on the technical objects. So actually, you have to restrain a bit, but actually it derives from the technical object, like this kind of technical sphere that could be connected, but it's not like in the center of the analysis. And at the end, the core theoretical concept there is techniques. Like everything are techniques in the sense that I am describing it. I only save the word technology, trying to discuss the way in which industrial capitalist society have developed a particular type of techniques, and how they are connected to the traits that are particular or they are characteristic of this industrial capitalist society.
So in what sense GADIs will not be a technology?
Is the internet a technological object?
The internet?
Yes.
Yeah, as a whole, I think that maybe infrastructure is a better word, to do it.
So it's not a technological object,
but
it's made up of
exactly.
Just like GADIs.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying GADIs. No, as I said, they.
So GADIs.
I have a question. Maybe it's like even more philosophical. Maybe complicated a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, we didn't. Okay. So you start better.
I think both questions could go really fast. I wanted to know more about when you speak about the connection with Castoriadis' work. I mind it's a lot linking with the idea of heteronomy, autonomy. So I would like to know a little bit more how do you work with the ideas from Castoriadis, and also from the idea of autonomous institutions, which can connect with all the things that you were speaking about.
Yeah. Castoriadis, he made the entrance of the Encyclopedia Universalis, I think was the name, the article in the 70s. So actually, he was working on kind of a definition, of technology, of techniques in general in this article, and he was actually approaching this from all the different perspectives. So something for which I found really interesting Castoriadis in order to discuss technology is the way in which he understands society. I don't know if you know Castoriadis or not, but actually he has this idea of society as a totality made out of social imaginary significance. And this theoretical construct, is actually a combination, which is not actually a dualistic approach between material and idealistic components, if you want, to make it really simple. And he used that in order to discuss institutions in general, but actually you can use it also to discuss techniques, to understand it as an example of that. And actually I have built on a lot of these kind of ideas. That's why it's a complex mixture of these two elements. So this is one way in which Castoriadis is present here. And then for sure, his idea of autonomy was really linked to this idea of heteronomy and autonomy, an heteronomous society as a society who is not able to recognize his own capability and inevitability of making, being his own maker. This idea of creation as a big philosophical idea in Castoriadis. So actually, his project of autonomy is not like a closed project. It's not just saying, okay, this will be the autonomous society with these characteristics, but the core of this autonomous society is the capability of recognizing his working role, his role as a creator, and the possibility of all the time questioning how this society is made. So in a way, to develop an autonomous relation with technology has a relation with that. To understand the black boxes and all this kind of discussion that has been really common made. But he also made a reflection a bit afterward in his later work, where he was actually getting to know a bit more about ecology and socio-ecological crisis, in which he was developing some idea close to inertia and huge, in a way, how actually there is an assemblage in this totality of also the different techniques that are part of this social fabric, and how they are part of the processes of making institutions and also individuals. So there is where he was actually making a strong point against the idea of substitutability, of the idea of classic communism, of reframing completely social relationships, but keeping all the infrastructure. He was discussing with that, showing this close relation between both. So in that sense, he's also really present. This criticism of the idea of free use, in a sense. So, I am completely aware, and I have discussed about that actually the word technology has been used for a lot of things, almost for everything you can use it. So it's okay. There are different proposals, theoretical proposals that I'm not confronting with, But I guess that if actually you use technology to discuss about everything, you lose the focus on the specific realm, maybe that you can discuss with that, And there are a lot of things that are discussed nowadays in terms of technology that maybe are better framed as institutions, I think. So this is also a proposal.
Yeah, maybe I have a comment, which is a question or something in between. I think that's one of the super interesting point in your presentation is the fact that you don't call it a social construction, but there is a lot of things that resonates with social construction. That's one of the main point of social construction is the historicity, the fact that there is any technological development has is path dependent, it's a history. And this is translated into modern terms, especially in business and management, into the magic word buzzword, innovation. That's why we are the post-growth innovation lab, not the post-growth technology lab, which is this dimension of the evolutionary dimension of technology. So the fact that innovation and technology doesn't emerge from a vacuum, but there's a history, and the history is very similar to the kind of, some people made the comparison with biology or Darwinian evolution. I no, I dislike this idea, but there is this component of evolution. That means that technology actually evolves. It's not always the same. Our laptops are not the same, not even like 4 years ago. And it's like combinatory in the sense that combines different elements that emerge in different sectors for different reasons from different social groups, like you're mentioning Linux, no? For example, is a way of taking technology from completely different kind of politics, but based on technological regimes and technological trajectory that is there, right? So how do you see this evolutionary dimension in your framing of technology and technique? I mean, where is the place of the change, right? Because in our paper, maybe it's like implicit, but our idea is to analyze the change. So what can we expect of the internet of the future if you decide to go post-growth or to go deeper? And we are writing another paper. Actually, we are waiting for news about a paper on the right to repair. There are many things in that paper, but there is this component of the fact that the technology is evolving, and within this evolution in capitalist system, capital is looking for different ways to capture this evolution and to restructure this evolution and this evolutionary nature of technology at the service of capital accumulation, no? And not preventing repair means basically that we can make more money out of the use, right? So what is the place of the time dimension, the evolution dimension in your framework, in your work? Also because many of the technology that's, okay, the artifact, let's talk about the artifact, are the products of training moments, usually triggered by individuals. No, of course, there is always like community work, and even Edison was building on, or the biggest innovators or inventors of the past century always build on collective work. But there is this, component of creativity, ingenuity, of invention that is something that is there, always been, even in a non-capitalistic society, no? So how do you see this?
About the,
I don't know, it's something in between the comments and the question, and you don't have to answer. I just want to open up
okay,
because the change and the innovation is not there. I'm not a big fan of innovation. In my work, I criticize innovation, but it's there. It's something that's everybody's talking about.
no,
innovation.
maybe the problem is that it's there also maybe implicit because actually using the framework of Castoriadis, the main idea, in his philosophy is creation. Actually, he's called the philosopher of creation, actually. And there is a whole description of the dynamic of social change, in terms actually of changes with social significant imaginaries, the conflict of these imaginaries, actually the cohabitation of all these imaginaries, and how there is a partial restructuration of them, So actually in my PhD that I did, this is just a paper also, but in my PhD, actually I was against technological determinism and against the idea of the autonomy of technology, And I was building on something that is close to this idea of social construction of technology, the idea of inertia, of partial autonomization, and posing this idea of technological conflicts also, So how actually at some point is this the classical idea, There's different moments of the technology when it appears, and it's more open, and then when it's actually getting more and more inertia, and when it's not that easy, actually to give it a different orientation in which infrastructures, I agree that are really key, So but I think that it should be probably a biggest moment of transformation of technology would be the possibility of having a collective and democratic putting into question of that, not all, especially in the part of the creators, but in the part of society, in which actually creation stopped to be the prerogative, if you want, of I don't know what you want to call them, but the masters of ingenuity, the businesses nowadays, in which a state can give a little, just frame to what to do, what not to do, then no, it's something like the technology appears, no? So try to build on this kind of strategies, no, social strategies to be able to evaluate, no, how does it goes or not. And for example, in France, I was working with the people, no, that they were trying to make, like it's called now this citizen science, no, this idea of actually, no, have a co-discussion of what is being developed there, no, something that has to be understandable, no, being able to put some limits to all the ideas of precautionary principle, no. This is the kind of mechanism that I haven't developed a lot, no. I don't have actually a closed idea of how this will be going, because actually I think that is something that should be discussed collectively, no. But I can give you an example. For example, I was in Ecologistas en Acción, no. I was working as a coordinator from the digitalization group. So then we did this work equivalent a bit of what you have done. No, how are we gonna propose something for the internet today? Going to another direction. No? So, for example, there we did like a differentiation between a long-term perspective, no, that was actually the digitalization, no, and a proposal for the moment, no, in which actually we were building on this idea of like not individual property but common property, no, and trying to impulse, no, trying to make a real, no, the kind of accessibility, not via device accessibility, but space accessibility, no, like the first moment in which the internet actually, no, were more understood as a library than as a consuming tool, no? And we were also studying like some of the legislation that we were doing at that point. We discussed a bit about obsolescence also, and we made like a positioning of Ecologistas en Acción about that. No? For digital technologies, it's been the moment in which we have focused more on that. No? But it's not, I haven't developed, because I don't have a team, a group, or something now still at that point, no? Like a more specific analysis of different technology that should be done. No? I work with some people in Barcelona, for example, Jaume Sastre and others that are doing this kind of historical works. The idea is to work together in the future with.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my head around because I'm not a philosopher, so I'm not used to the sort of essays and nomenclature. But for me, like I'm trying to think about what is bringing this idea like new to the table. That is not, for example, like I don't know. Like I'm thinking about like if I understand your work correctly, one of the points is like okay, technology is socially constructed. Like, which is like, for example, when Bruno Latour says technology society made durable, for example, right? It has this thing. So we have this idea that is established, and then like the argument is like technology and energy like use is entangled with growth and capitalism. If we want to escape growth, we also have to escape or give up the technologies that come with it, right?
Or at least transform it into another thing. It's
so what is my point is like, okay, but what is specific, like, is this analysis bringing that, for example, I don't know, like, it's not in, maybe it's because maybe sociologists and of science and science and technology studies maybe don't talk to each other a lot. I'm trying to see like, what is there like something else? Like, is there like, I don't know, because I feel like a lot of these ideas are also like sharing the sociology of technology. And so I don't know, like, is my question is like, have you engaged with this literature? Or is it just like an argument built on philosophy for like philosophers?
Yes.
With science and technology studies, like, and if so, what do you think are the key differences between what you are arguing and what has been said in terms of the social construction of technology and everything, like all these ideas that have, because I think like part of the reason we are not agreeing is in terms of the terms we are using are very different, and I think like that makes it very difficult to have like a conversation because I think we're speaking different languages, but in the end we might be saying very similar things.
Probably, I don't know.
So my question is like, have you tried to sort of reach out to maybe like engage with these other conversations around technology?
Well, in a certain point, no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I know sociology of technology in depth as you probably know, but it's not something that also I don't know. Like, For example, I have a mature or
Yeah.
a bit of that, no? I'm aware.
No, no, it wasn't a criticism. It was more a genuine question, like, because
I have no problem to say I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah.
I-
but it wasn't in that sense. I just want to try, like, whether you have tried to build
Yeah,
this.
where are the references?
Yes,
to
exactly.
I understand perfectly.
Yeah.
Even though it was a criticism, it's okay also.
Mhm.
You come these places to be criticized. Okay? This is also a reason.
Mhm.
No, I understand your point, no? But specifically in this paper and talking about degrowth, what I have perceived, no, as a problem when I have been engaged with more historical or sociological perspective, no, it's the way at the end. What I know, what I know, it's a lot focused on use at the end, no? The dynamics of use, no? And maybe not taking enough into account, no, this metabolic dimension, no, that is in the beginning actually of ecological economy. So I was, if you want, our point of maybe encounter would be, I agree that there are possibilities, no, I agree that you can transform technology. No, I agree that it's not technological determinism. So maybe we agree with that. No, but I think that actually to decouple with the main features of the society that we have been building in the last 5 centuries is much more complicated than what we normally say or find in the literature. Because they are like actually kind of connections, no?
This is a very interesting point.
This is
because
the
when-
critique that we
Yeah,
make
because
on
it's
the people, that they say with Jason Hickel, that the original point of our paper was the monthly review
I know.
paper.
Like, well, I came here because I think that.
Yeah,
that's for me.
that was like, well,
That's why
we
it's-
just replace cars with bikes and that's all.
For me, this is actually should be the starting point, because we agree to that.
I know.
Like, we agree there. The question is like, okay,
What's different? What is new?
what is actually like, so you say it's difficult to decouple. Difficult, what makes it difficult
For
in
example,
the sense like, and what makes it difficult that you think, for example, there's the points we make in the paper, like, don't recognize that.
capitalist organization of production and distribution, for example, no? So in a profound way, no? How at the end, a lot of nowadays technology, I could not imagine, but maybe it's my limit,
Mhm.
how could be they possible, no? With a specific, no? I don't know, conglomeration of infrastructure that have been made, no? In this phase of capitalism, no? And this is normally not taken sufficiently into account, I think. No? For example, I'm specifically in this, I haven't read all your papers.
No, just genuine, I'm trying to
But,
just.
no, yeah, but specifically in this paper, I was missing it, no? Because at the end, it's like, okay, if we get rid of financialization, no, and we do a new framework, no, of governing the internet, no, okay, a bit of reduction of the energy, no, that I don't know how do you think about this reduction of consumption, but it seems to be photovoltaics, no, and like that, and you can keep going, no, and I think that is very much more complicated than that. For example, to asking a specific point, I find this point. The problem, for example, of addiction and subjectivity construction, no, of this technology, that I actually that we agree. I agree. I think that we agree, but it's not present there. No, I was not finding it. No, and then if you want the possibility of radically, no, well, what we said in the beginning, no, really put into question in a radical way up to which point, no, this kind of modern infrastructure is desirable or not, no, in a really profoundly Nietzschean way, no.
For me, the part that confuses me is I get the analysis, but I cannot help reading a lot of normativity in it. Like when you say, okay, it's not, I'm not making judgments, but I think like maybe like I'm not understanding that. When you say we need to go back to a fully solar power.
But it's not back, it's forward.
Forward, okay, we need, but this is like, but then like, for me, this is a very strong, like, this is a very strong normative and teleological reading, which, I find it really difficult to detach the objective analysis from this idea.
It's not a must, it's a should, no? If we take seriously, no? If we really consider seriously what, for me, a degrowth perspective means, no? I guess that we are forced, we should, no, actually, no, think of living by the sun.
I'm not sure if we understand degrowth in the same. I think like,
There might be room to
Can
produce.
I ask you a related question? But I think I'm getting, because I'm confused on a number of levels as well, and I think that I've thought of some questions that could be clarifying for me. I think because your argument has many steps to it, so I think what we're trying to do is put together,
Yeah.
like, where's your normativity, where's your analytical, right? So I think that one question that I have, there's three. So one question that I have is where, and they're all related to each other. So there happen to be long concepts. Three, it's a three-part question. Where does where are you empirically citing your critique where you say we are dealing with people that believe that there's autonomous technology and the technology is fetishized and all of this? Where are you citing that? Is that in the governing bodies? Is that in the scholarly? Sorry, is it, where are you citing this critique of autonomous technology? People, where are the people that think that that technology is autonomous? Are they in the governing bodies? Are they in the European Commission, for example? Are they in the scholarly community? Is it the publics out there that are the problem? Where is that? Where are you seeing that? Where do you read that from the world, right? Because I mean, of course, that's a very standard sort of STS lens to bring to the world, right? There's technocracy everywhere and nobody understands technology, right? And there's billions of critiques of all kinds of technologies and the bad things they do out there. So we have that. That's one question. And then another question is who is the we that is acting in all of these spaces? What can we do? What are we going to do in these places, right? Who is the we, the scholarly community that we're strategizing from to then sort of try to affect the publics and the governing institutions, or is the we the governing polity, the government, the policy, us as part of this state community or whatever it is? And then the third question is, how are you conceptualizing democracy in this? Because you just said that democracy has this important place. But you said if we want a degrowth society, if we want this, we want all of this, then we need to bring the democratic publics in to discuss this smaller question of how, right? And so this comes back to your question about how are we getting there? How do we change into this? And what is your conceptualization of the sort of, are you asking a political question? Are you asking a technical question? What is the sort of conception of like normative change that you're looking at through these sort of definitions of these sites?
Thanks for asking my questions much better than I.
I'm happy because I think I have answered for that question. For the first question, when I say no, they say who is the user of the inherited conception of technique that I have proposed in the beginning. I would say that I find it in mostly in public debate as a place in which I think it's much present. I partially find it in the political realm, institutional political realm, and I don't find it in the community of philosophy, sociology, anthropology, and technology field. So that's why actually it was a criticism of the paper in the process that I was not specifically saying that this is actually to who I was saying. So this question has been already posed to me, so that's why I have the answer. And at the beginning of the paper, you will find that I make a reference to all the, I think, more important schools in approaching from a humanistic, sociological, anthropological, philosophical point of view to this idea of this criticism. So I'm not trying to say that I'm doing something for the first time or that only I know how to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's much clarified. Which was never my intention, but could be read at that sense. Then the we of the action, the we or who is my we. I have a problem, or I don't know if a virtue know that I have never completely decoupled, like my political action and my academic action. So actually, for me, the we it's at the same time the academical communities I am part of, and the political communities I'm part of. So in that sense, the ecologist movement, and this realm of ecological humanities in which I work with. I'm not really fully integrated in degrowth community internationally, so I don't know if I'm part of that, but in any way I'm not far from. I am participating now in new spaces. Could be my way, I don't know. I have some doubts on that. That had to be what do we understand about degrowth? That is another point. But my way for me it's clear. It's like this academic community from which I am part of. And the political communities I'm part of, in which actually I try to do a transfer No, I try to make a work of coming and back of no. I'm not really this kind of scientific that propose complete objectivity or something like that. No, I try to say actually no or to make visible what kind of proposals sometimes I'm working with. No, even though I try to look for objectivity logically, but I'm more comfortable with that way. And the last and more difficult question, no, I think that you could be asking that to all the people that are proposing degrowth at the end, no? Who is,
Yes,
no,
I am.
Claro, who are you talking to, no? Because clearly we don't live in a degrowth society or with degrowth imaginaries. So that goes to the point, no, that maybe Mario wanted to discuss a bit, I don't know, because he was reading this book, or who is going to be the political agent, or who should be the political agent, or who could be the political agent of the degrowth transformation, who is not a closed question, no, for sure. No? I have written some things about that. It could be a bit long, maybe to discuss it now, like to give you a full answer, but a short answer is I'm not confident to make the main agent of this kind of transformation political institutions, no, or the state. No? So I guess that for me, this agency should be especially, you know, in the realm of society, no, and this is complex, no, so social movements as a space that is important. And when I'm writing that, it's not in a normative way, but in a proposing way, saying if we had this debate, no, if we could organize to try to propose something, this would be my proposal. Actually, say exactly that at some point. I don't know if in this paper, you know, way, in other places.
Your proposal within the social movements, to the social movement
Yeah.
community of which you are part.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
academic.
it's a strategic analytic to say this should be our way of then interacting with the rest of the political and social system.
Well, strategic and tactic, no, it's a bit different because, as I said, no, this is more in the analytic side.
A lens to which
Yeah.
through which we should act.
Well, to build a program, no, in the sense of trying to think about no, which are the things to take into account if we really want to make a reflection about technology. No, then if I write a pamphlet, I don't write that. So, for example, now I have been participating. You want a tactic example of things that I do now? I have been coordinating with some teachers, no, a critic positioning about digitalization of education. No, so I have written a document. You can find a manifest. Actually, it's accessible now with them, and we have been trying to, think about this specific problem at this specific moment, no, and trying to make a positioning about that, which does not include that. No, we are not talking about living out of the sun at that manifest, for example. No, but we are having this discussion with them. I'm having this discussion with them. Ecologistas en Acción, no? Another example that I have been participating. We had a discussion about the renewable energy installation, the massive renewable energy installation. We end up with a positioning, no, but we had all these discussions. So this is the kind of documents I work with, no? Documents that.
So for you, the democracy happens within these spaces.
Democracy, yeah.
Democracy. So when you talk about democratic deliberation, you're talking about sort of within the groups that are coming up with.
About democracy, this is the biggest and more difficult question. I have, if you want, the normative. Normative is a bit hard question. I don't know if it's something of your space. I don't know. Normative for me is like Kantian. I wouldn't say normative, but yeah, a prescription, no?
Yeah.
No? I have my understanding of what would be democracy, no? At the end, if you want, a model maybe.
At the end of this history.
Yeah, a model of what I understand that is democracy, no? That is based in building democracy, not just at the level of the institution, but also breaking heteronomy, no? And building material autonomy, no? That it's a model. No? I have written an article about that. No? But then promoting democracy, maybe it's another question, I don't know, or going, or trying to get closer to democracy. In a sense, it's more difficult tactically, no? And in the book about degrowth, we discussed like 3 strategies that we find that are interesting there, no? Like try to resist, no? Building resist, and in that resistance, sorry. So in that sense, social movements are a really important actor, no? A cultural transformation, no? Cultural framework transformation, and this is something more hybrid. That's why I'm working, for example, with people in the artwork, no? We have a program in the museum. That's why I work in the university, no? And I another kind of things, no? And we work a lot also with this idea of creation of imaginaries, etc. no, and then building alternatives, no, like democratic alternatives. And there again, we think that like the driver could be social movements, but we are really interested in the theory of commons. Where, your partner is not here now, but we have been discussing a lot about these commons, no, and how do we rebuild these commons? What does it mean communalize? And the idea of a public common relationship is interesting for me, for example.
But that's an example, and then I'll shut up and stop asking follow-up questions. That's an example of a democratic alternative. So democratic alternatives, democracy in that sense is also cited in the smaller unit, right? That's not like you're not talking about democracy writ large. You're talking about ways of doing democracy that then sort of feed back into the system. Is that what I understand?
Direct.
Wow.
And that are not technology mediated or.
Yeah, no, I'm not a techno-communist, if is your question.
No, because I'm not. I don't think it's right in my head. I'm just trying to understand literally what.
Okay, I know. Maybe I will miss your
I'm not trying to put you in a box.
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand literally
Okay,
what
okay.
you mean. It's one of my research interests is trying to figure out what people mean by democracy.
No, you know, I had been like really ideological at some point of my life because my first understanding of all these things were militant. No? So I used to have a close definition of democracy, no, and used to be really, like saying this is democracy and this is not. Now I'm a bit more interested in process of democratization. No, so that's why this is the drivers I think that can actually approach us to this kind of democratic perspective that maybe I have, but I don't think it's really interesting to say this is democracy or not. No?
Sure, yeah.
I don't know.
But when we say democracy is a solution,
It's too far.
then we have to know what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, democracy, I mean, as a regulative horizon. Maybe I understand democracy as a regulative horizon, if you want. It's something inspiring, kind of practices. This is classic anarchism, actually, means an end. So trying to use the means that are actually compatible with your end, trying to approach to this end.
But that you were speaking is one of the two points that you were saying when you speak about politics. No, so you have this deep, go in depth, like a kind of unconscious and inherited part, and then the other one is the happening of spaces that you were speaking about. No, this kind of spaces that you relate to your militancy or more subjective positioning. No, so what are these spaces that you speak about, that you think about? There is one which is, for example, when you get these discussions in ecologistas and social movements, are there other spaces?
Other spaces?
Yeah,
for example, museums. We're working with the art community now. And for example, there is the Reina Sofia of Madrid Museum, Contemporary Art Museum. And there is a program there that it's kind of a master, it's not a master, no? And we have critical ecology seminar. So we are actually there doing some discussions, with creators. So there actually we are more focused on imaginaries, on working on, for example, the role of utopia, the closing of utopia, and these kind of things, for example. Yeah, I think that's the other space, university, social movements, and maybe this art community. I don't have time for any more else. I have to do other things like participate in social movement that is like with technology.
Does it relate? I don't know really what Castellano is, but I'm trying to understand Castellano. So does it relate with the idea of institutional power?
Yeah. So this idea of institutional power.
And then you can explain.
Yeah. Okay, if you want. No, actually, I already said that, but I didn't put the word. Because post-Castorian society is kind of incoherent totality. So there is kind of dynamics inside this society in which, if you want, we can use the word hegemony, but now the word hegemony is a bit difficult to use at this time, but okay. There are some points that there are agglomerations, these kind of imaginaries that become, if you want, like dominant, and others that are not dominant. So there is a polarity, multipolarity, not only a bipolarity, but the multipolarity of conflict there. And of partial agglomerations. This is a bit like Adorno, like this idea also of constellations. Think about that. So institute and power is actually when this kind of one of these agglomerations try actually to overcome like the established the established power. It's kind of his heritage of the idea of revolution. It's kind of his revolution that is not a revolution by taking the state, but it's a revolution by taking the imaginaries in a way, that implies taking the institutions or reframing the institution, but it's like much more, it's more like the counterculture idea, you want. He's living in this counterculture movement, so maybe you can attach to this idea of reframing also imaginaries, in that sense. So it's kind of a polarities inside society, institute society is institute.
To keep feeding his polarities, not leaving the space for more.
There is no other way, because he says that even stability or continuity, it's an exercise of creativity and innovation. This is maybe interesting for you, engineer. Probably he says that normally institute power presents itself an eternal, non-changing, natural, but actually because everything changes, because there are changes all the time, people change, institutions change, things change, they have to change to maintain this, if you want, fiction of stability. So changing, you cannot avoid. That's why his central idea is creation. But the idea is to be able to cover the change and present it in a heteronomous way.
Wow, this was rich conversation. Question. I think you have a meeting, no? In 10 minutes, maybe. You have to.
Yeah. 5:30.
5:30.
Thank you.
Any other question? Well, I have many other questions, but maybe we're gonna go over here. Maybe over here, and we don't, to more other people. Like details about our papers and academic, intellectual.
Pornography.
Okay, so thank you very much, Adrián. And
¿Qué es eso?
es una grúa.
Sí, es una.